Hello chess friends, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to work with a game I played this week. This was an online Blitz game and I think it was very interesting what happened here, so I decided to share it in my channel with some comments. So let's start. I was playing as white here and my opponent was another Fide Master. So let's see, I played c4 in the first move, my favorite English opening, and he plays d6. I played knight c3 and then c6. Probably he has some scam over there prepared to face English in this kind of games. So e4, then e5, and then g3. I like this structure with the fianchetto and the pawn on d3, the knight over e2. Sometimes this pawn should be on e3 controlling d4, but this time as my opponent played with c6, I wanted to make sure he couldn't play d5, and that's why I brought the pawn to e4, which has some small problem because now black can use this square d4 like some kind of outpost. Something good here is that as the pawn is on c6, then the knight cannot really come very easily to c6 d4. So that's the idea here in the opening. Black continues with knight f6, bishop g2, and then bishop e7 d3, black castles, and then knight e2. Now black plays c5. Probably this position belongs to some symmetrical variation, you know, like c4, c5 in the first moves. So now black in fact can try to use the d4 square, but also I can do the same with the d5 square. Well, I decided to castle here, knight c6, and then h3. This is a typical move in this kind of a structure. Very often I like to bring the bishop to e3 and then play f4. So a problem with the bishop on e3 is that knight g4 can be annoying, so that's why very often I play h3 before I develop the bishop and play f4. My opponent plays bishop e6 and then f4. Actually here, as the pawn is on c5, there are no problems with the diagonal, so I don't need to play bishop e3 so much. That's why I just played f4 directly here. And then we have knight d4, f5, and here I saw the possibility to completely block the center and stay with some very nice space in the king side, and I thought it was very well. Actually, it's not getting any real advantage for white, but this is something very easy to play in a blitz game. I am attacking and advancing my pawns, and he has to find the most accurate moves to stop my the advance of my pawns. So as I said, this is very easy to play in a blitz game. I block the center and I attack over the king side. So bishop d7 and now g4. Knight goes to e8 and now I will try to use this square. So knight d5. Black plays here bishop c6. Actually, in this position, this idea of bishop g4 was probably better. As you can see, this is the bad bishop, black's bad bishop, and this is my best bishop here. So the idea of trying to trade both of them seems fine for black. So a move like bishop g5 is very typical in this kind of positions. Well, he plays here bishop c6. Here I took on e7 because I was planning some very interesting positional pawn sacrifice. Positional means that it's not a sacrifice to give mate in 3 or a sacrifice to get back a lot of material in 3 or 4 moves. As it is a positional sacrifice, it means that I'm just getting some interesting strategical advantages, like probably a good file for the rooks or some nice square for my knight maybe, or maybe even just creating some weaknesses in the castling. So that's the idea when we talk about the positional pawn sacrifice. So I just played here f6, and he takes, and then bishop g5. After he trades on e2, now queen e6, and then bishop takes and pawn takes. And this is what I was aiming more or less when I played knight takes e7 and f6 some moves earlier. So here I just continued improving my pieces. I played in this position queen e3, but actually the best move here was just rook f5, preparing to double rooks on the f file and putting a lot of pressure here. And after king g7 I could just play rook g1, and probably after something like rook g8 I could play queen f2, putting a lot of pressure here. This position is very good for white. So instead of that I just played queen e3 because I thought it was very well to try to take advantage and use dark squares here. I thought it was very strong. So after queen e3 my opponent plays king g7, and now I saw this plan, and I played rook f5, he plays rook ac8, and then I double rooks here on the f file. Actually in this moment there was another better move. I could play rook h5, this was very strong, threatening queen h6 with mate. My opponent could play, for example, f5 protecting h6, but then this queen g5 is very strong. If black blocks, I can still play queen h4, and this is winning because now I'm threatening two very strong ideas. I'm threatening capture here on f5, and when the queen moves I'm taking on h7, and at the same time I'm threatening rook g5. So this position is completely won for white. So in this position, instead of rook a f1, as I said, rook h5 was actually the best here. Let's see how the game continued. Rook f1 and then rook g8. I put even more pressure on the f file. Notice that something like rook takes, queen takes, rook takes is just trading queen and pawn for two rooks. Also I have a pawn down, so actually it's trading queen for two rooks, so it's not getting too much. Actually it's not getting a big advantage or something. I'm just trading some pieces, which is good for black. So I decided to increase the pressure here on the f file, so I played queen f2. My opponent plays bishop e8, just assuming this pawn here is lost. Of course there was nothing to do, so now he prepares to protect the pawn here on f7, and then I take here. He plays queen e7, and then this strong move queen h4. There is a very nice threat here. Rook g6, this cover, getting the queen at least, because probably there is also some line with mate over there. My opponent plays king f8 here, and then queen takes h7 is very strong. Black plays rook g7, and then check, check. And now I invite you to pause the video and try to find the move I played in this position just to finish the game. Okay, I will say it right now. The move I played here was just rook g6, and now as there is a pin here and another pin here, this rook cannot be captured, and there is a lot of pressure here on g7, so white is getting the rook and winning the game. After a move like, let's say, f6 protecting, white can just play queen h8 and rook takes rook, and this is completely won here. And with a picture of the moment where white plays a positional pawn sacrifice, we are going to finish this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If it was like that, give me likes. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next.